All right, good morning, everyone. We're training for Remax Ace here on a beautiful Tuesday morning. It's Christine Boland, and today we're going to talk about mastering negotiation during the buyer's market. So, what are we working right now? Normally, this time of year is our listing season, but we're really encouraged to work with our buyers right now because we're in a big buyer's market. We have lots of inventory just sitting and sitting. I'm sure if any of you have listings like me that they're up, they're getting very few showings. They're not getting aggressively bid on. So we're going to flip the switch and try to work with our buyers in order to hit our goals for this year, our commission goals, right? So our focus is definitely going to be that. So I wanted to focus training on mastering working with buyers and how are we going to do that? So I'm just going to share my screen here. All right. So working with buyers, how are we going to put our buyers out of the woodwork? So what I have been doing is I have been going through my list of clients that I have and thinking to myself, who's been stuck? Who wants to buy? Who needs to buy right now? And so I've been sending out an email. I'm going to show you an example of an email that I've been sending out on my clients, which is kind of some people out of the woodwork. First of all, we're going to talk about, talking points to make our buyers have confidence because everybody says to me, oh, the interest rates aren't quite back where they're supposed to be. And what are we going to be telling our buyers to encourage them to buy right now? So we have to emphasize the negotiation power we have right now. And I'm going to focus on that. That's what I wanted to focus on for this training is how we can negotiate. But we have to tell them, look, with the inventory being so high, there's so many options out there right now to purchase. So the power to negotiate not just on price, but on terms, closing dates, extras, contingencies, all those things that you can put into an offer that when it's a seller's market and they're getting, 10, 15 bids on the property, you don't have the opportunity to do that because just no, oh, let me let some people in the room. There's just no negotiation room there. Lots of people entering this morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm just giving a second for these guys to join. There we go. So yeah, we have to negotiate. We have to emphasize right now with our buyers that we have so much more negotiation power than in a seller's market because in a seller's market, we know they just sort of turn their nose if we even put in any conditions or clauses into our offers because they have the power. Well, right now our buyers have the power. So we have to reach out to them and say, hey, look, now's the time to offer in on a property, especially if they've been missing out on lots of properties and they've tried and they've got outbid. Now's the time to not have that happen. The opportunity versus waiting. So waiting for rates to drop sound good, but what happens when the price often shoot up again? Buyers now gives you room to negotiate and avoid bidding wars. So I was saying to my buyers a lot, you know what? Even when the interest rates were going up, when they were up and climbing, I didn't let scare off my buyers. I was saying to them, look, even if you spend $75,000 in the next term of your mortgage, the prices were down. Instead of 1.3 for a detached bungalow in Scarborough, you were seeing them dip under a million, which we hadn't seen happen in years and years and years. I know if we had buyers ask me, oh yeah, can we get a property under a million? We'd kind of laugh it off. When we see that happening again right now, so we want to tell them to take the opportunity in that because it's less of a mortgage to be paying off. Even if they're not 100% happy with the interest rates right now and they feel they're still a little bit high, they can still jump in on the opportunity of having the purchase price be lower, right? And the interest rate reframe. Good morning. How are you? Welcome, welcome. So the interest rate reframe. So you can refinance your mortgage when the rates go down, but you can't go back and negotiate today's. Start from the beginning. The late covers want me to start from the beginning. Everybody online. I've got 12 people online listening. Okay, well, we'll do a quick recap of the first 2 points. So I was saying right now is the buyer's market. Normally, we're in a seller's market right now, and it's normally our listing season, right? So we have to reframe our mind to go and pull our buyers out of our network, right? So I've been aggressively working, and it's been helping. It really has. That's why I thought I'd work on this. I've been going through my whole list of clients, thinking who's been on the fence, who can I pull out as a buyer, who can we start to work with because normally we think of listings at this time of year and it's just not happening. We have lots of inventory sitting. So we have to switch. We have to flip the switch and we have to think how we can pull our buyers out, right? So the first 2 points I talked about, I'll tell you briefly again, as we were talking about emphasizing the negotiation power we have, right? Which I'm going to go over. I want to go over that for training, but we have the inventory high. So there's not aggressive bidding wars happening right now. So we can turn around and we can negotiate things, right? We can put in our conditions, we can put in our clauses, we can negotiate terms, closing date, contingencies, all stuff like that. And then I talked about opportunity versus waiting. So right now we have the opportunity. I keep on telling my buyers, when the inventory was low, we had the crazy bidding wars happening. You didn't have the opportunity to grab a bungalow in Scarborough under $1 million. Now you see it happening. Those things are going for 1.25, 1.3. It was crazy, right? So you want to tell them like the opportunity is now and you can buy low. You know what I mean? Even if they're still fussing about the interest rates not being quite so low again, you can tell them, look, you might be paying a little extra in the next term of your mortgage, maybe $75,000 in the next term of your mortgage. But like we said, instead of 1.3, you're paying 985 for a property. And you're saving so much money on that property right now. So in the long term, you're going to pay it off faster. So who cares about a little bit of the interest rate being a little bit higher right now? And because everyone says it hasn't gone back down. Do we really think it's going to go back down to 1 point something? Right? I don't know. We'll see. So interest rate reframe. So you can refinance your mortgage when the rates down. So even if they're totally unhappy with it, well, what do you think? Were you thinking of waiting right now until 2026, 2027 buying? Take a shorter term in your mortgage then, and you can refi, you can do something at a lower interest rate at that point, right? But the thing is, we know that it's your time in the market that matters. Once those go down, again, we're going to see the house prices go up, right? So if you're going to jump in at 2026 and 2027, interest rates might go down. We might be paying that 1.2, 1.3 again for the same bungalow. And then we talk about long-term value. So even in a fluctuating market, real estate builds wealth over time. Buying now gives you equity, tax benefits, and stable housing costs. So I always tell my clients, especially new people, like when they're just purchasing first-time home buyers, I always say, think of it like a little savings account that happens that you never even realize how fast you get saving on. So you're not only paying in to your property, the equity, you're paying the principal into your property, but you're gaining that appraised value over time. So now you're going to buy now, you're paying into your equity for the next 2-3 years of the term of your mortgage. Plus in 2 or 3 years, when that rate goes up, you've banked that, increased value of your property. Before you know it, you may have put 50,000 in the property. Now you have 150,000 in your pocket, 200,000. You can't save that fast, right? If you wanted to wait till 2027, you're not going to have $200,000. You might, instead of 50, have another maybe 75, 100. But now all of a sudden you've got 200,000 in your pocket. You're not going to have anything that's saving and buying and gaining you that equity. We always say the time in the market matters the most. That's why everybody always laughs when they ask me, if you come to my office, is it a good time to buy? Yeah, it's always a good time to buy, as far as I'm concerned, whether the rates are high, whether it's a buyer's market, whether it's a seller's market. Your time in the market is what matters the most. That's how you win in real estate, is your time in the market. And lifestyle and personal goals. So if moving helps your lifestyle, more space, a better neighborhood, a shorter commute, those improvements matter now, not just in a better market. So think about it. During COVID, what mattered most to people? They weren't talking about what the interest rates were, and they weren't talking about what the house prices were. What was the biggest thing that they were talking about during COVID? We had a mass exodus out of the city. Everybody was leaving their condos. Everybody was leaving their city properties, and they moved out to the outskirts of the cities. Why? Because what mattered most to them was the space during COVID, because we were all confined to our spaces. So all of a sudden, what came important? Home offices. Those became really important to our clients. Space, backyard space, outdoor space to be in during COVID times, right? So you got to focus on what are your lifestyle and personal goals for your buyers that they're working with right now. Focus on those things. Like if they just had a baby and they're struggling in the condo, yeah, okay, it's not the perfect time to buy, but I think that because of your lifestyle, you'll benefit from it anyways. Okay. And then I put in quick one-liners that we use. You're not just buying a house, you're buying negotiation power right now, right? This is a buyer's window and we rarely get it. Let's take advantage of it. That's a big one, because sellers markets happen more often, right? We usually see the trend. Why do we consider it listing season right now? Because we're usually in a seller's market, right? We usually have listing season come up and we thrive as realtors. We make the majority of our commission in this quarter of the year, right? Between say March, April, May, June, that's the majority of our commission. We usually see July and August really quiet, and then we see a good fall market, September, October, November, right? Those are definitely the times that we see. But these have been funny years for us. If you had your license for a long time, I've got to say this is the funniest year I've ever been in, where I've just seen it stall completely during when it's supposed to be our feast time. We all say feast and famine in real estate. It's like definitely a strange season where everything's sitting on the market. I have 8 listings right now and they're just sitting, and I'm going, can't really explain it to our sellers. Okay. Owning gives you options that renting never will. So 100% true. I have a lot of renters right now, a lot of renters we're working with. And why is that? 2 reasons. A lot of people don't want to buy right now, or they just can't, right? But we also have a lot of our investor clients who can't hold on to that secondary property. The rent is just not covering it. So we have a lot of landlords selling. So a lot of people have been given notice, and a lot of people are upset about it. I have a lovely couple. I just put them in a property I was managing last year. They're hoping to stay a little long term. I've worked with this client for a really long time. And I said, well, I don't think he has an intention of selling because he hasn't the last 5 to 6 years I've rented for him. But right enough, he says, no, I have to sell. And they're sad. They have to move after that year. So you don't have the option of choosing how long you're going to stay in that property or anything like that because you're not the owner. So owning gives you options that renting never does, right? It gives you that power to renovate the property the way you want. It gives you the power to know that you have the security of staying there. And also it's giving you that saving power. Okay, so this is very well. If I go to my sent folder right now, you see a very similar email that I'm sending to all my clients. So I'm encouraging you guys to reach out to your network right now. Go over anybody you have the email to, or anybody you can reach out to, even by phone. Use this as a script if you want to. And just reach out and start to pluck your buyers from your network. Okay, we're going to try and encourage them to buy right now. So now is the time to buy. Now is the time why buyers have the advantage. So hello, Mr. Smith. I wanted to reach out and let you know that right now is one of the best markets we've seen in years for buyers. With inventory high and competition low, you have a rare opportunity to negotiate price and terms in your favor, choose more from more listings without bidding wars. So that's a huge one. How many of you guys had clients during a crazy bidding war time that just didn't even want to offer on the property? A lot of my clients would say, oh, I don't even want to, if there's going to be 15 offers, I don't even want to put an offer in. A lot of people were afraid of that. So go back to those clients, right? And say, hey, we're going to get no bidding wars, potentially no bidding wars here. Potentially secure extras like closing cost credits, flexible possession, the time to do a home inspection. Can you imagine that? How long has it been since we could put in a clause saying, let's have a home inspection, right? A lot of people were doing the pre-list inspection. And if you had that in your offer, you weren't winning the bidding war, right? They're picking all the other firm deals. So isn't it nice to take the time to go and do a nice home inspection with your client so you confident about closing, right? While the interest rates are higher than they were, prices are lower and you might be able to refinance down the line. So you give them that security because a lot of people have that question like, oh, the interest rates are high. But like I said, encourage them to take a shorter term right now. Then they have the opportunity to refinance. If they really feel like in a year or two it's going to drop, why wait a year or two to buy? Just put a shorter term on your mortgage and refinance that, right? And then you have the best of both worlds. You have the ownership of that property and you can still get a lower interest rate later down the line. So let's set up a time to chat about your goals and see what's out there. Looking forward to helping you make a smart move. So take a copy of this, put it in your emails, and I encourage you. I was sitting there feverishly on Thursday and Friday sending out a lot of these emails, different. You don't have to just do an email. So some of my clients I might have on Facebook. I shoot them a Facebook message. Some might be on my WhatsApp. I'll shoot them a similar message. Some might be in my email. Some I'll pick up the phone and give them a call. And I have 2 or 3 buyers now just from pulling from my own network. Not anything new, not a new lead, but I have 2 or 3 people. I have one client in Pickering that says, this is getting smaller. And I think, if a bigger unit's in my building is available, why don't we explore that option? I said, great. Well, there's 3, 1 sold conditional. I said, there's 2 we can still view. We're going to go on Wednesday. This is from this email. That's why I'm encouraging you guys to reach out to your buyers right now and sort of give them the talk points of why it's a good time to buy for them in this buyer's market, right? So pull those people to work with. I always say this time of year, focus on your listings, but unfortunately, that's not the cards right now. We have to switch it up. We have to go work on our buyers. So now we're just going to go back here. Do you guys have any questions so far? Is everybody online? Everybody's quiet online. All right. Oh, I have to squeeze it smaller. There we go. So I want to focus on now what can we do to negotiate working with our buyers. So we're going to do a quick crash course on, first of all, do we all of us sit down with our buyers and have a little interview with our buyers before we start working with them? Okay, everybody should be doing the same thing. It's like we sit down with our list or our sellers. We sit down and we have a listing appointment. We should have a buyer's appointment with our buyers. So before we even get to the negotiation part of putting in an offer, we have to make sure that they're set to buy. Okay. By that, what I mean is you want to sit down with them and first you want to find out what their motivation is. So what's your motivation for buying right now? Who am I currently going to work with? I want to work with my hot buyers that are ready to go right now that they want to purchase, right? I don't want to waste time showing 40 houses to someone who's just passively looking. So, so I need to hear stuff like, oh, we just had a baby, we need a bigger space. We want more room, we need to move for a job. We unfortunately we're hearing a lot of we can't afford this right now. We need to switch and move to another property that's less of a burden on us. So you want to sense their motivation. But then on top of that, I find the biggest mistake that working with buyers, and you guys don't want to fall into that trap, is you're going and you're showing them lots of properties and you put in an offer, the offer gets accepted, and you say to them, okay, I need a deposit. And they say, oh, well, I have to pull it out of my RSP, or I have it in funds that take 2 days. I need 2 days to a week to get a draft. Some of our clients might be banking at banks like Tangerine and stuff like that, where they don't physically have tellers. They can walk in and get a bank. It takes them a week to order a bank draft. So we have to talk about our clients and say, hey, you know what? You need to know the difference between a deposit and a down payment. We know as realtors because we do it every day, but it's a big misunderstanding to the public. So you want to make sure you don't get to that point where the offer's been accepted and they don't have a deposit that's tangible and ready to use, right? So you have to talk to your buyers and say, okay, your mortgage broker said that you need $120,000 total down payment, right? But we're looking in this price range, so I feel that you need about $25,000 to $30,000 for a deposit. A deposit is something that's going to hold your contract binding at the brokerage. We give it to the brokerage to hold in their trust account, and it'll be credited to your total down payment, but they need it within 24 hours of the acceptance of an offer. So you need to move it from that RSP. You need to move it from that bank that takes you a week to get a draft. You need to move it out from whatever place you have it sitting, and you need to have it tangible in your bank account that you can go and draw me a draft within 24 hours. Okay. Huge mistake. I've seen a million deals fall apart because of it. I've had a lot of new agents call me and go, oh, what am I going to do? Because my client just told me that, they make a Tangerine and I have to call. Well, you don't have a deal if the seller doesn't agree to change the terms of your agreement. Because if it's going to take you longer than 24 hours to get a deposit into the office, you have to write a clause into your Schedule A, right? Saying that, we further agree that the deposit will take an additional few days or something like that. Because where it's written for our deposit clause, it says 24 hours to the brokerage, right? Big thing, sit down and have this conversation with your buyers. Let them know what the costs are going to be. So do they know about land transfer tax? Do they know about what the lawyer fees are going to be? Line them up so they're fully prepared for the transaction, right? Then you're going to go and you're going to show them properties. And now there's tons and tons of things online. So many properties. I see so many coming every day too. It's like astounding. It's not like people are going, there's a lot sitting, so nobody's putting something up for sale. Every day when I go into certain areas, I keep on seeing so much inventory, right? Yeah.
This is on Friday. Do we have it until Monday end of day or Saturday?
So now most people argue with you because most of the big banks are open on Saturday and Sunday. They have banking hours. So that's why I'm saying it's before you put the offer in, you have to know your client. Like if they bank at, I don't know, I'm just picking one, National Bank. And National Bank doesn't have Saturday and Sunday hours, and you're accepting on a Friday, you're going to have to let them know, look, it won't be there until Monday. And I would put a clause in, because then what if they get a better offer than you? Somebody might say, okay, no problem. Yeah, they can't bring me a draft until Monday. It's Friday. Great. What happens on Sunday if someone brings an offer that's 50,000 more than yours? Then they'll pull that clause on you for sure. They'll say the clause says it has to be within 24 hours. Yeah. Yeah.
The next day, even though.
It says they have 24 hours upon acceptance of the offer. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. If it's anything different than 24 hours, I would always put a little clause in saying, in Schedule A saying that, say today's Friday, I don't know what's the date going to be on Friday, the 17th, 18th, something like that. I would say that the deposit the seller and buyer agree that the deposit will be brought to the brokerage on the 20th of May before end of day kind of thing, just to protect yourself. Because if, like I say, if they get anything higher or a better offer somehow, they'll say, oh no, technically it says 24 hours, so we're not bound to your deal. Do you know what I mean? They'll pull that on you for sure. So you just got to make sure of that. Okay, so what are we going to negotiate in our deals right now? What are things that we can do to help our buyers out? Things that we normally don't have the chance to do when we're getting aggressively outbid and we're practically forced to, waive our home inspection conditions and that. What are we doing right now? So preparation is power. We're understanding the market conditions. So high inventory right now means buyers have more options and negotiating power, right? Which is a good feeling when we're working with our buyers. So we could use absorption rates and days on market to back off offer terms and pricing discussions, right? We want to say to people, hey, you know what? You've already been 31 days on the market and you haven't had any offers. You know what I mean? Do you want to sit another 31 days or accept our offer? We have that power a little bit. Look for price reductions and expired terminating listings as indicators of seller motivation. So we consider when we see that the days on market or price reduction or an expired and terminated listing means that seller is a little deflated, right? Which means they might be more open to a little bit of a price reduction or something when we're putting the offer in. Okay. So we could say things like, this home has been on the market for 31 days. My client is interested, but they're also considering others, which is a fear in a lot of the sellers right now because there's lots of inventory out there. So would your seller consider a clean offer at, giving 50,000 less than the offer price? So you could create a comparison chart for your buyer. Here's how this home compares in price and values to others, ones that are considering the neighborhood, and use that as a tactic. Okay. Negotiation techniques for buyer agents. So you can start below asking when appropriate. So right now it's almost always appropriate because we're going to see that not a lot of things are getting, so many people are setting bid dates hoping it'll work. And I've done it for a couple in the last month that I've put up. I thought I can't go backwards. So my strategy was, let me try a bid date for a week. If it doesn't work, I tell my clients, we'll just go for true price. But you can't really do it backwards because you lose that excitement. If you put it up and it sits for 30 days, then you go and you try a bid date. I find it's not as aggressive. You know what I mean? So I've tried it, but not a lot of it's working now, right? Did you try to put any of your listings up recently for bid dates or anything? No, just true price, right? So you're not seeing a lot of it happen. So right now, when we see a price, normally we know, hey, we're going to go in below asking. We're going to start below asking. So we can justify it with comps, days on market, and condition. So you can say, well, you know what? You've been up for 31 days. Your neighbor's up for 42. That guy's been up for 21 days. Everyone's sort of sitting on the market. So make sure your seller really reviews this offer carefully because I think it's a good thing that you're getting an offer, right? Unless you want to sit more and more days on the market. We even see that the average listing days on market is like 28 or 29 for the Toronto Real Estate Board, which is crazy because normally we see it hover around 20, 21. And then we get to listing days on market. I mean, we get to this listing time of year and we see that go down. We see that go down to 14, 10 days sometimes. And it's crazy now. It's still sitting over 20. So, definitely work on that. How long do you want to sit? Does your seller want to sit on the market? So imagine if you have your own property, if you guys ever sold a property, I always say to people, I haven't moved ever. So I will say to my clients, if I had to have my property up for sale, I'd be mortified because every day you got to be show ready, perfect. I got 4 kids running around. I'm going, what a nightmare. So sellers get really tired staying on the market, right? So you're going to start below asking and say, hey, you know what? Everybody's been up over 30 days on asking how long does your seller want to stay up? A lot of times they don't. They're like, oh, just sell it. It's worth it. Fine. Focus on clean offers. So quick closings, fewer conditions, overpriced loan. So instead of looking at just price, maybe you can get a better price if you offer a quicker closing. So I talk about the desperation of a lot of our sellers right now. The unfortunate part is a lot of people are having a hard time affording their mortgage. So a lot of people have their property up for sale right now due to that factor. So if you're offering a quicker closing, it might be something enticing for them. Then they don't have to go through the struggle for the next 3 months if you're closing in the next 30 days, right? They'll definitely come to a lower price for that. Ask for extras. So furniture, appliances, seller paid, closing costs, rate buy downs, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know about you guys, but I always look at the listing and it says, okay, fridge, stove, washer, dryer, all electrical light fixtures, all window covering, same old, same old, same old, every listing, right? But I always throw in other things for my client that I see on the property because you got to be watch and see how closely the listing agent reads the offer properly. Good morning, how are you? So a lot of times I'll be like, and barbecue, the barbecue in the backyard, or and the hot tub, or and patio furniture, and the gazebo. And so you want to, this is the time where you can throw in those things. A lot of times you'll get a smart listing agent that'll catch it, but very often they'll say no, 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 and they'll scratch it off. At this time, they might say, oh, you know what, I'm just happy to have an offer. You just give them the barbecue. Just let them have the barbecue, right? So throw in extras for your client all the time. Don't always follow what's included in the listing, right? If it's not included, they'll cross it off and send it back. So listing agents may be more receptive. Leverage that openness by asking directly about pain points. So how are you going to prepare your offer? You're going to call the listing agent and have a conversation with them, okay? What's important to the seller beyond price, okay? Oh, they really need to move because they're very behind on this mortgage and the bank is chasing them. Okay, so do I get a better price then? You're not going to ask them, but obviously, do I get a better price if I offer them a really quick closing? Because that's their pain point. You want to talk to their pain point, right? So the solution would be, would a flexible closing date make this easier on them, right? Easier on me too, because I'm offering for my buyer, I want a better price. So give me a flexible closing date. What not to do. So don't assume every seller is desperate. Some are unrealistic, screen accordingly. So some people just have their property up there. I have one unrealistic client right now who has a very high price listing. And, I'm bugging them every week to lower, lower, lower. So it's not just because they're desperate that they're filling up there, but sometimes sellers are unrealistic. Don't overplay your leverage and risk offending the seller. Tone matters. So there's offering under price and then there's insulting, right? I really avoid my buyers doing that. Even when they suggest it, I want to offer 200,000 less than, asking price. No, I don't suggest this is a good strategy. You put a bad taste in the seller's mouth and then they don't want to play game with you. Then you're going to see that they're going to stick to their price more than ever, right? Whereas if you offer something that's reasonable and you can justify it by like saying, oh, days on market or down the street sold for this price, that's why I'm offering you this, then that builds up. It's insulting to people because at the end of the day, everybody feels their house is worth a lot more, right? Everybody thinks their house is perfect and it's worth so much. So the report and uncover the seller priority. So we're not allowed to ask price. So a lot of agents will call and they directly ask price. What will your client take? Will they take 940? You think they'll take 940? You're not allowed to do that. It's against our RICO rules. We'll get into trouble for it. You'll get a fine. But there's ways you can always ask questions, right? Like I ask them, what comparables in the neighborhood are you using? And they'll say, well, 54 Pegasus sold for this and, 31 sold for this. And then you get an idea of what they're thinking without directly asking price because we're not allowed to. So here's some other ways to ask about the seller priorities. So can you tell me a bit about the seller's situation or goals? What's their situation or goals? So their goal is to be out of here by September because they are moving to Mississauga for a job, right? Their situation is that they just had a baby and they need more space, right? You want to find out about the client because the seller's not our clients, right? Has there been much activity on the listing so far? You got to watch your words. Did you get an offer? Was it for how much? Did you get what you want? No, we can't ask those questions. So has there been much activity? We'll let the listing agent say what they want to on their own, right? Oh, we haven't had that many showings and we got one really low ball offer. Okay, great. What's most important to the seller? The price, the timing, or a clean deal? They don't really care. They really need this price. But I mean, if you want to do a home inspection, that's fine. They're fine with it. They're not in a rush to close, but they really want to hit this price mark. So we know, okay, we can't really, go so low on the price on this one. Would your seller be open to a quick closing or a flexible possession date? Right? Oh no, they purchased another home. They can't close until September. Oh yeah, they really need to close like yesterday, like the bank is chasing them, something like that. Are there any offers expected or previously declined that I should be aware of? Yeah. So this is where you'll hear the listing agent say, look, they're not going to sell unless they see 930. We got 3 other offers that didn't hit the mark. They declined them all. So don't even bother if you're going to send me something under 930, right? They'll give you some direction there. And they're not really supposed to. As a listing agent, you're not supposed to. But if you don't ask about the price, but they give you the answer, it's not your problem, right? You never asked about it. You're not doing anything wrong. Are there any specific terms that would work to make our offer more attractive? Right? So they're going to tell you the reasons why. Yeah, no, really quick closing would be great. Oh yeah, don't put anything in about them fixing anything because she's an old lady and she doesn't want to fix anything in the house. So it won't be painted, it won't be fixed. Don't even bother if you find something in your home inspection, right? Whatever the case may be. Positioning language. So my buyer is flexible and motivated. We're looking to structure something that works for everyone, right? Give me the idea. We'll work together. We're aware of the market conditions and are being respectful while also looking for fair value. So, like I say, you've got to be really careful when you're negotiating. You can't just say, you know what, your husband's sitting on the day for on the market for 40 days and you haven't got any offers. So that's why I'm offering you a low price, right? No, you got to say gentle things like we're all aware of the market right now. Like we all know what's happening. Everything's sitting, right? So, I mean, you've been 30 days in the market. Your neighbor's been 40. The other neighbor's been 60. I would just have a conversation when presenting my offer to them for them to consider that I'm offering 40 to 50,000 less for my client because do they really want to sit another 30, 40 days in the market? Everybody's sitting up at the same price. No offers, right? So maybe it's time to take a little less on the price. All right. Objection handling. So common pushbacks from the sellers. We're priced right. Your offer is too low, right? We get that a lot. The listing agent is the one telling us this, though, not the sellers, obviously, directly, right? But they're reiterating what their sellers are doing, and they're trying to get a higher price for their sellers. So I understand. However, the home has been on the market for 31 days, and other similar listings have sold for less, right? And you got to back it up. Look at the neighborhood and make sure that's true what you're saying. My client is making a fair offer based on the data, based on the trend in the neighborhood, based on the market value, current market value, right? So we rather wait for another buyer. Again, that's always an option, but we're seeing an increased competition from other listings. There's listings popping up like crazy right now, right? This is a firm buyer who can close quickly, a good, confident client, right? So let's think about it. Okay. Special scenarios for high inventory. So lowball offers that work. Offer significantly below only with strong justification, right? It can't be really, really nilly for no reason, just offering because, oh, you know what, we're in a buyer's market, so, suck it. Here you go, take a lower offer. No, we're going to look, like I said, on all those things. Pull things from the TREB Market Watch. That'll help you in your area as well. Saying, you know what, the average listing days in your area is 24 and you've been on for 34 days. Like you're on way over the average days of marketing right now. So something's not right. It's probably your pricing point. At this time, I think we need to come in a little bit lower, right? Pair with a buyer letter, mortgage pre-approval, or a short irrevocable period. So these are tactics that can push. So why would I pair with a buyer letter? Buyer letters are getting popular in bidding war situations. Why choose my client over that client when we're all offering a very similar price? All the deals have no home inspection clause, no financing clause. Why choose Nithia's client over mine? Well, mine is a lovely couple with a beautiful child that's going to, sometimes you'll appeal to that seller, right? A mortgage pre-approval. Why would we do this? We want them to know that our offer is good. It's not going to fall apart at the 11th hour, the day before closing. My offer is good. My client's pre-approved, confident in their financing, right? Short irrevocable period. that's a dirty one always, but I mean, if we want them to make a quick decision, we're going to give them a short irrevocable period. Like, look, my client, there's 3 listings up in your neighborhood, and really they like yours the best, but they don't hate the other 2, right? So I'm gonna send you an offer at 6 p.m. and I'm gonna give you till 10 p.m. to decide, because if not, they want to kill it. First thing tomorrow morning, I'm gonna put in an offer for that other property. My client doesn't want to sit long on an irrevocable with you. So that makes them make a quick decision, like, yeah, there are a bunch of things up in the neighborhood, and do we want to sell first, or we want to let the guy down the street sell? So things that you can push a little bit more with that. Post-inspection renegotiation. So I was talking about what a nice time it is now to get to use a home inspection clause. I always joke, because my favorite home inspectors that I use, there goes periods where I don't see them for a long time, and then all of a sudden I start seeing them again. It depends what kind of market we're in. So when we're in the bidding war, we're always waiving that home inspection condition, and we're not seeing our home inspector. So, lately it's nice to touch base with them and be like, hey, how are you doing? We can have the home inspection, but what is also good in a buyer's market with a home inspection? We can come and we can take our findings to get maybe price reduction on things. They don't listen to us in a seller's market when we find something wrong. It has to be something pretty major that'll really make them turn around and not buy the house before the seller will give us any kind of reduction on price. But now you'll find that people will say, oh, no, I'll fix that, no problem. Oh yeah, for sure, I'll give it a fresh coat of paint before your client comes in. Yeah, I'll repair that tile or that bathroom or that toilet, whatever the case may be. You'll find now that they're a little more lenient to do that post home inspection, right, during a buyer's market. So they're more likely to accommodate. So after that, here, seller buyer offer template. So below asking with clean terms, these are different things that we can do. So we can use a strategy, like I said, where we can offer below asking and we can give them clean terms. So there's nothing really to disagree with. So we're going to give them a lower price with a decent deposit, and we're just going to give them like clean offer, financing, inspection, nothing crazy that we normally don't see. I've seen some offers lately that are contingent on the buyer selling the buyer's house. Have you guys seen that ever before in an offer? It's something that rarely happened in the last, I haven't seen it happen on a common basis in the city. You see it out of the city happen more, but in the city, I haven't seen that happen in at least 10 years, right? I've seen a couple of them come across my desk because there's agents that are newer in the brokerage that haven't seen that clause before, and they've gone, what is this, right? And I go, oh, that's funny. I haven't seen that in a while. So that's proof that this is really a buyer's market, because people are putting in clauses like that aren't very common. So what they're saying is that this whole offer is conditional on me selling my home before I buy yours, right? And some buyers who have been sitting like 50, 60 days in the market are like, okay, sure. Well, I haven't got anything else, so I might as well sit with that, with a hope on your property selling right now. So very funny. I'm sure you guys will see it now that I said it, but in the city, it doesn't happen very often. More it happens out of the city, because in like cottage country, things take longer to sell. So that's why they go, okay, yeah, sure, I'll wait for your property sold in order to sell mine. But yeah, I've seen 2 come across my desk in the last couple weeks, and I thought it was funny. Asking price with extras requested. So just a reiteration of that. So maybe I'll give you asking price or close to asking, but I'm going to take all the extras. You're leaving me the gazebo, the barbecue, whatever the case may be, the hot tub, all these other things that people might actually take, right? An aggressive offer after inspection. So again, we talked about having that home inspection and coming back and saying, you know what, he found that the carpet was a little wet downstairs, so I want you to do waterproofing on the back of the house and replace all that flooring down there that's wet, right? So you might find more people are open to doing this sort of thing right now, because they're like, yep, just want to sell, no problem. So price adjustment templates, I always put this in. How do you go back to the listing agent and ask for a price adjustment? A lot of people are afraid to do that. They're like, oh, I really don't want to go back and ask for these things and say, something was wrong with the property. But it's just really straightforward. If there's something wrong, there's something wrong. So hello to the listing agent. Following our recent home inspection of 123 Main Street, a few unexpected issues were discovered that will require significant investment from the buyer. Okay, so we're saying like it's going to be a financial hardship to our buyer. please find the inspection summary attached. So I don't necessarily include the whole inspection. I'll include just the pages that I'm referring to that I'm going back on. So if they're saying the basement, something's wrong with the basement panel, I'll take that page from the inspection report and include that page. My feeling is it's my client's property. I don't have to send the whole inspection report to the seller, right? But anyways, based on the finding, my client would like to proceed with the purchase, but request a price adjustment from 940,000 to 920,000 to reflect the necessary repairs. Okay, and then you can include and list, like I said, include that part from the inspection report. We hope your seller would consider this in the spirit of cooperation so we can move forward smoothly. Please let me know how your client would like to proceed. So there you go. Easy peasy, nothing too aggressive, just really straightforward. This is our findings from the home inspection. We're coming back. We want a little bit of a price reduction. Here's the evidence that goes with it. Here's what's wrong, what our home inspector found, and we can come back with that. So again, beautiful, beautiful time to be working with your buyers because we have the time to do that home inspection and to go back on those things right now. How is everybody online? Any questions you guys have so far? How's everybody here? So I really encourage you guys this over the course of this week, just scour your whole database and find your buyers that you're going to work with right now. Because the listings, yeah, no problem. It's great. It's not like we're not getting listings right now. Listings are coming up, right? Like I say, I've got 8, literally, if you go look, 8 up right now, but it's not what's making us the money right now fast. We got to find our buyers to work with right now. It's definitely a buyer's market we're in. So if you guys want to hit those goals, like I said, sorry, Paul, did you have your thumb up or your hand up? Need to ask me a question? I thought I turned my head and I saw your hand up and now it's gone. Yeah, try and pull your buyers to work with and really focus on that this week. I tell you, I only sent out about maybe 25 text, emails, things. I pulled like a couple people to try and work with this week, right? So it's possible. You don't know who's sitting in your database that's just not aware it's a good time to buy. We know it's a buyer's market, but the public doesn't necessarily know. And all they listen to, I tell you, the news is not our best friend. And sometimes we get caught up in it. I got agents coming in going, oh, the news said, and it's terrible time to buy. I'm like, you won't survive if you have that attitude as a realtor, right? It's always a good time to buy. What are the reasons why it's a good time, right? Right now, it's a good time because of all the reasons we just spoke of, that we can do our home inspections. We might get price reductions. We might get quicker closings, longer closings, whatever we want for our buyers right now, because it's not that aggressive bidding war that we're going through. So super important to relay that to our buyers who are sitting there and you might pull some out of the woodwork to work with, right? Everybody good online? You driving, Karuba? All right, everybody, you have a lovely week. So we're doing training on Tuesday. We're all meeting here early in the morning to have a quick grab and go breakfast and drive to Realtor Quest together. I think some of us are going to meet out there because you guys live out that way. I don't know if guys are gonna reach here. Try to let me know though, so we know to wait around for you. We're gonna try to carpool from here for whoever wants to, because it's out in the West End, right? So I don't know. I'm gonna just have like a quick grab and go so we can eat in the car, some little breakfast and coffee for us to grab. And then we'll make our way out to Realtor Quest on Thursday. So no training here, but meet here a little bit earlier. So I think we'll meet like 8:30 because it starts at 9. But if we're out there by like 9:30, it should be fine by the time we go do registration and everything and get in. So anybody joining us online there, let me know. Give me a quick text so I know to wait around for you guys here. We can carpool together. If not, we can meet there on Thursday. All right. Everyone have a good morning.